What about the 5 best champions to main in WildRift? Let's give it a go with Gragas. Gragas features a decent early game phase, in the laning phase and the jungling phase, by just using his first ability for the laning to poke out enemies and his second ability to fastly clear the jungle camps. As the game goes on from the early to mid game, he turns into a powerhouse that spikes on one item, specifically Luden's Echo. Once he has this item, he one-taps everything he touches with his full combo. Next to this, the poke potential of just using his first ability in the combination with Luden's Echo makes him into an absolute poke mage that is tanky and bursty at the same time. Especially in the AD carry meta, he is a very powerful existence simply for the fact that he features 2 different modes to be played in. First, the fully committal combo mode. You just go in and yell "Bomba!" And the other one, which is completely centered around throwing your ultimate to split open the fight and then take over in midst of the chaos. To give it an example of how you can play him, just throw out your first ability on cooldown to check out the enemy champions, to then find an opportunity to go in with a flashy combo with your third ability flashed into the enemy and then taking care of the rest with your ultimate and just sending everyone back into the fountain. Oh yeah, and depending on your preference, you can play this champion in every single role. All you have to do is just adjust the item set. The next champion can also be played in multiple roles, namely jungle, mid and support, and here we have Pyke. Pyke is an absolute playmaker which isn't designed to win the lane he's being played in. Pyke is about controlling the map and making the map into his territory. You want to roam as much as possible and make things happen all around the map on cooldown. To do this, here's a very simple trick. If you know an area is warded and it's not a control ward, you can use your second ability to bypass exactly that area to give the enemy a false sense of security. By doing so, you'll catch them off guard and there's a higher likelihood of the play working out. If you, however, want to be one of the best Pykes, you have to understand that your positioning matters the most. You want to be in an area where you're not seen, which means you need sweeping lens as early as possible. Once you have the lens, you need to position yourself in a way that you can enter a fight from a side. You don't want to just go in, you want to use your first ability and be patient. Make the enemy use their escape spells first and then go in to clean up the fight. Your champion is a reset-centric champion. And on top of that, you're a very committal champion. So if you happen to execute an enemy with your ultimate ability, you need to make sure that you either execute the other people or have proper tools available to survive the aftermath, using stasis or your dash away, literally anything that is available to survive what comes next. In the early and mid game, and maybe even in the late game if the enemy isn't too strong to face, there is one trick you can use to increase your chances of winning. When you use your third ability to dash into an enemy champion, stay close to them and charge your first ability. Don't just unleash it, just wait. As you're closer to them, they'll feel threatened, and as a consequence they'll flash away even before you release the hook, making it impossible for you to miss. That might sound a little complicated and troublesome, but what about a champion that rewards you for being absolutely stellar at her? The more time you spend playing Zoe, the better you'll become and the more absurd things you'll be able to pull off. This champion's damage, outplay potential, lane presence, carry potential, everything is literally the pinnacle of WildRift. For laning, there are a few things you need to know that make your life substantially easier. Every time you cast a spell, you get a passively enhanced alt attack. For your first ability, this translates into the following. Casting your first ability first enhances your next alt attack. Casting it the second time will enhance your next alt attack again. Therefore, if you engage into heavy trading, use this little trick to get more damage. Another thing you can abuse is use your second ability on level 2, especially in an all-in situation. Having the bonus summoner spell movement speed and Nimbus Cloak in combination allows you to pick up the enemy summoner spell once he uses it, and casting your summoner spell will also grant you bonus movement speed. This way, it's impossible for the enemy to flash away because you can just flash after them and run after them because you're substantially faster. In the early stages of the game, it's completely fine to expose yourself to certain risk as the enemy team lacks the proper burst to actually kill you. But as the game goes on, especially in the mid and late game, you have to do the following. Rather than just going in exposing yourself to absolute death, what about using your third ability and throw it through walls? Casting it through wall extends its range brutally and you can control the zones with this. And once you see that in the fog of war somebody's getting hit by the ability, you can assess if it's fine for you to go for that kill or if it's too dangerous. Upon hitting the later stages of the game, you're basically one-shotting anything you touch, but you're also getting one-shot the moment you make a mistake. Use your allies to grant you vision and then play around that vision to sleep enemies and then one-tap them. If you follow these simple rules, you'll have great success playing Zoe, but there's one more thing that I need to tell you about. As you complete your build, you need Horizon Focus. Hitting your third ability on an enemy will instantly self-proc the item upon putting them to sleep, which adds a lot of extra damage to your full burst combo. Nothing competes. Our next champion is about lane presence and absolute domination on the Rift, and it's Akshan. This champion features a very specific strategy which I'll tell you about. On level 1, you stand in front of the enemy tower and cast your first ability right into the enemy wave. You clear it as fast as possible, and then immediately after you start rotating to another lane. Yep, you heard me right, you just start rotating to another lane. You skill your third ability and then you just rush over there as fast as possible and you go for a cheesy play. Afterwards you either recall or walk back to lane depending on your resources and then do the same thing again. Upon hitting level 3 you want to put another point into your third ability, making you the strongest skirmish champion in the entirety of WildRift. With this and knowing the angles to swing around on the Rift, you can do a full 360 around a person and literally demolish them. Similar to Pyke, Akshan can also go camouflage, using his second ability to go around the map in stealth, making enemies absolutely clueless about his position. To confuse your enemies even more, there's one trick you can use to make sure that your next gank is gonna be successful. Rather than walking into the lane you want to gank immediately, walk onto the opposing side of the map, but make sure you're being visible as you do this. Then turn on your second ability and go all the way back to the lane you want to gank in full stealth. Unless there is a control ward anywhere, you will not be spotted and therefore will play on the enemy's perception and get them killed. Using these tricks constantly is mandatory to be one of the best Akshan players, but you have one feature that helps you even in the later stages of the game when your champion falls off slightly. You can revive fallen allies. You've seen it happen plenty of times. Somebody's going to get a double, triple, maybe even a quarter kill and they greed for this devious pentakill. But you're Akshan and then you happen to kill the person who has been greedy and really horny for that single kill, and then you revive your entire team and win the game in an instant. And yeah, this happens way more than it should happen. Another great champion to main is Vex. She features a very strong laning phase, a good mid game and a very powerful late game. Similar to a Katarina, she's able to use a reset nature of her ultimate ability to take down people in sequence. Additionally, she's a great champion for gank setup. Using her third ability is almost a guaranteed hit, and once you have your passive available, you can fear the enemy away from the center of that ability right into the arms of your jungler and then instantly kill them. Another amazing trait of Vex is the ability to completely deny an enemy's engage. Every single time you cast a spell where you have your passive bar filled up, you'll fear everyone hit by the ability. Thinking about enemy champions that go right into you, bruisers or hard engage, they'll get immediately feared. As a consequence, you or your allies will have extra time to react to that situation. Vex also features way more damage than people believe she has. Every single time an enemy champion uses a movement ability, even flash works, they'll get marked by your passive. If you hit them with an alt attack or your first or second ability, this mark will be consumed to deal extra damage to an enemy and give you a partial cooldown reset on your passive ability. Your third ability on the other hand applies such a mark, which then can be consumed by your first or second ability. This is very helpful when it comes to clearing waves because you can hit the entire wave with your third ability and then clear it with your first ability. Don't just go in with your ultimate ability. You need to wait and control the fight beforehand and then using your ultimate to clean up a fight. And most importantly, please pay attention to the enemy stasis because you don't want to go in and as you arrive at the target going fully committal mode, the enemy uses stasis and you just stand there and die with all your cooldowns being gone. And exactly with that we conclude today's video. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and comment, and see you next for another RiftGuides content piece.